On the next all-new episode of Fooly Cooly Shoegaze.
Reports coming of after images from the parallel universe as a result of NO activity.
What is that?
I don't know. What do you think it is?
Is it even alive?
It's coming this way. Mayday, mayday, mayday! An unidentified creature is obstructing our field of view!
All choppers at the tower, disengage immediately.
Someone tell me the truth!
Trigger has been detected.
Fooly Cooly Shoegaze. Next Saturday at midnight on Toonami. Next day on Max.
The following program may contain coarse language, suggestive dialogue, and discussion of violent imagery and sexual situations. It is intended for mature listeners who can tell the difference between facts and opinions.
It's the sequel that none of us expected on this episode of the Toonami Faithful Podcast. I am your host, Sketch, and with me I have...
your favorite anime-loving cat, Kuro.
And returning to the podcast...
AmpRen, the guy who's here sometimes, who used to be a part of this podcast.
Well, it's honestly been quite a while since Kuro's been on a podcast, but it's certainly been longer since you have.
Yeah, it was like, what, Housing Complex E was the last thing I talked about with you guys, right?
Was it? Oh, man.
Yeah, it was one of the Housing Complex E episodes.
A year ago. Literally.
Yeah, just about a year ago. Almost a year
ago, yeah. Uh-huh. Wow. Huh. Suppose we should have had you on when we talked about Unicorn or something. Maybe you would have had a differing perspective on Unicorn. I don't know.
I felt like it was me against everybody who didn't like Unicorn. It was a very sad podcast.
Well, what can I say? I may not know art, but I know what I like.
No, that's fair. And I haven't yet listened to you guys talk about Grunge yet, so I'll have to listen to that.
Well, get ready to experience Carl Olson talking about Fooly Cooly. Because, honestly, he makes a lot of good points about how things may not be too obvious to some viewers, but it arguably lives up to its name better than you might think, and, you know, the structure of the show is kind of grunge, actually. But I can't possibly reconvey it the way he can, so I'm not going to try.
Felt more equally ska to me.
Yeah.
You see what I did there? See what I did there? You're welcome.
But what did you guys think of grunge, you know, at a glance?
To quote what I said on Twitter, it was certainly one of the anime of all time.
Ah, yes. One of the anime of all time.
I really liked the animation style. It gave me like heavy adventure game vibes.
Oh.
Like it made me feel like I was playing a point and click, you know. I kept like it wasn't just like the style of the animation, it was just the whole vibe kind of felt like a game. And then it definitely had the Fooly Cooly energy, or just the pacing and like the wildness to it. And you know, when I watched the full series, I was thinking about it, and I think 3 episodes to tell that story was just right. Because it was clearly built and written around a limited a limited specific series, if you will. Like you can clearly tell. I don't think it could have benefited from any more material unless it was like an extra 15 minutes overall spread across 3 episodes, maybe the only thing I definitely was not feeling was the ending, like with the one ticket and then only the girl left. I really, really thought that Haruko was leading up to getting them all tickets to leave the planet, because that's a really shitty planet.
Yeah, there's no reason to want to stay there, even if you're I'm okay with Shin finding contentment, but I'm like, but why though?
Yeah. And like the alcoholic rock, like come on. This poor child, get him off this planet. This is a very grim existence. He doesn't belong there.
It's pretty dark, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not a happy ending.
Yeah, and then maybe another like 5 minutes of scene with the 3 characters together, just to get a little bit more of their dynamic.
Yeah, they're the best of friends, or so we're told.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the closest thing we got to that was the Shonari episode. Just that little bit of like Shinpachi talking to him.
Yeah, and then Orinoko like in the other desk, like, oh, isn't that nice? Shin's a good guy. Yeah.
It was definitely more adult in theme, I think.
Kinda.
I
mean,
I
really,
do think
it sort of felt.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is the right word for it. Like, it just felt kind of like basic nihilist to me, in a way.
A little, yeah. Definitely.
Like, especially with the way how it ends. Like, it definitely kind of like I'm like I said, I'm not sure if this is the right word for it. So someone might be writing a comment right now saying that, wow, this person needs to get a dictionary or some shit. But yeah, like I felt like there was almost like this whole kind of nihilist theme around it.
I think that's the right use of the word. And
Yeah, could be.
but it still had like the interesting, because it was also mixed with the kind of, I don't know how to say it, frivolity or zaniness that is Fooly Cooly. You know, that kind of balanced it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Drudgery, if you will, you know, and honestly, that Haruko trying to zip around and her being like ever present in these 3 characters' arcs was actually kind of funny. Like, I found that to be amusing, because
Finding out that she has to go by bicycle early on is just hilarious.
Yeah, and like you don't know the first episode that she's doing all this, and then by the second you're like, how? And then by the third, it's just a funny gag, because then you put it all together, like, oh, she's really had to do all of this stuff, you know, and it was amusing.
This scheme is very elaborate.
Yeah.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
I
was wondering. Go on.
I did notice that compared to alternative and progressive, that grunge felt a little more gritty, and they amped up Haruko's sex appeal.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I kind of agree with that, and this is probably one of the main reasons I actually didn't really like Haruko in this series. Like, after a bit, she actually kind of started annoying me. Like,
we all know she's a no good woman.
Yeah, it's like, like we all know that she's a shit ass person. Like, no one's gonna deny that. But just like what Kuro was saying about her wacky hijinks throughout the series, it almost felt like they kind of was piling it on. Just like, it felt like one of those things that's just like, oh, hey, this is Fooly Cooly, guys. Remember Fooly Cooly? Yeah, good times.
There was a lot of that, particularly in the last episode.
Oh yeah, especially during her Haruko talking to Orinoko.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's a bit of a caricature of herself. And I think that makes sense, that it was like you say, like a reminder that this is what we're watching. But as like this, you know what it reminds me of? When you're watching like long running animes and then they have one-off episodes where you have a bunch of shorts. This felt like a short in the overall scheme of things, and it felt just right. It felt like it fit. I think the more adult themes demonstrate an evolution, just like the new style of animation. They had more adult themes, you know, like Ren said, the more nihilistic underbelly of the story. And I did like that. I really liked the animation a lot. I know I said that because it's fun to see someone take a material like this that it's known for something specifically and then play around with it and be creative with it. Like you don't get to see a lot of that with an existing series. And I think that I was really tuned into that, you know, the style choice. And I kind of wish they had done something like that for Shoegaze, like not the same art style per se, just something different as well. I wish they.
I don't know. I feel like Shoegaze is pretty different as of right now.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
it's you know, understandably,
I'm not just saying like
is a very similar visual aesthetic to Alternative because it's the same director.
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if you're talking visually, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, like as it is right now, like with Shoegaze so far, like I feel like it's doing a pretty good job at differentiating itself. Like it doesn't feel, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe we've actually made it to the point where I can say this, but it doesn't feel like stereotypical Fooly Cooly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Agreed.
Especially
Yeah.
since we have like a new character, like a new not Haruko, but most likely is Haruko, but not Haruko.
Yeah. Thematically, it has something, a unique energy to it. It's still, you can see how it's a Fooly Cooly, but it's new, and it demonstrates like a maturity, an evolution of the series. That was one of the things I liked about Grunge too. Like it's moving forward, even with, you know, Haruko being a bit caricature-y. I liked it. I didn't particularly like the ending. I felt the ending was disappointing. But I liked the story. I liked the style. And honestly, I have to say, like this one's probably a bit more memorable now in my mind than I even think one of the last two were, because I don't particularly remember. Like I remember vaguely the plot and everything, and then some scenes. But this one, it's sticking in my brain. Like it's holding on. Like I think I'm going to remember this, you know, a few months from now, a few seasons from now, and think about it and compare it to other things. It's made itself kind of stand out. Probably, maybe it was the visual style specifically, and maybe just the more the storyline being so different, less quirky, and a little bit more dark.
I think the fact that it's basically one long episode is what helps there, because all the other ones you got to think about 6 different episodes with different themes, with focusing on different characters, and you might remember the vague plot beats of those, but you're probably not going to remember much of everything.
Sure. And you know, there's something to be said for like using this form of storytelling too. Like if you think about Samurai Jack, when they had the episode, The Four Seasons, like it feels longer than it is, but it is really all packed into one episode, and each of those stories is self-contained. Or Avatar, when they do tales of Bossing Say, and then they go around and in a few minutes with each character, like they feel more developed and lengthy than they really are, but in truth that they tell the story they need to tell within a few minutes. So I like that. The only reason I bring up the length is because I know that there was some complaining online about it, and I think you have to keep in mind the art style and what they're trying to accomplish when they tell a story and how much time they need to tell it. Like, what was the horror one that we just mentioned?
Housing Complex.
Yeah, Housing Complex C could have benefited from maybe 1 or 2 more episodes. This was the length it needed to be, in my opinion.
I honestly don't agree there.
Well,
that's a controversial take, Kuro.
Yeah.
I mean, even I think
It's like
a 4th episode would have been nice, you know.
Well, what would you say? You know.
Well, you
What
have you have the 3 episodes focused on the characters, and then you bring it all together in the 4th.
Perhaps, yeah.
But I also agree that if the episodes were just a little bit longer, then 3 probably would have been sufficient. But they were like less than 24 minutes each.
Yeah.
Whereas Fooly Cooly has had episodes that are as long as 30 minutes. So yeah, it might have been good to even have a slightly longer last episode. But,
yeah. Yeah, I would agree with.
We got what we got.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, like, just about me that, like, especially about short media, is like, if you don't really do a good job making like connections with these characters, it's like really hard for me to care about them when all is said and done. Like after every episode, I'm more or less just like after the first episode, I'm just like, okay, that was an episode, and then the second episode, I was getting kind of sort of invested into Shonati, and then they had the whole thing where it showed that, oh, hey, this is all just connected to what happened in the first episode. And I'm like, oh, okay. So the third episode is going to be exactly like this. And then, oh, yeah, there we go. And then in the end, I really couldn't bring myself to get invested into any of these characters because they barely give us anything to work off of. So I definitely do think that, like, that extra episode or so, extra 1 or maybe 2 episodes, or hell, if they had just went through and did the 6 like everyone thought that they would do.
Yeah.
that
when you go in expecting 6, and on the second episode they say there's only 1 left. What? Oh, and Shoegaze is 3 episodes too. What?
Yeah, it's just like it really feels like it's just like, hey, this is a person. This is what they went through. Check out all this crazy shit. And I was like, oh, okay.
You particularly just don't get hardly any. I mean, there is time to get to know Shin, but you don't really learn much of anything about him.
Yeah, it's crazy because because you think he'd be like the main character, and then in the end, he ended up being the least interesting one out of all 3 of them.
Yeah, and it can be argued that because he's a familiar character type, that you don't really need to know more, but I don't agree. Why is he even there if he's just there to be bounced off of?
Yeah, as a counter, it was never about the characters. It's not a character-driven story. The characters are used as a plot device to tell one story, and it's Haruka's story and what's happening on that planet. That's the story. That these 3 characters are just perspectives, and that because you weren't. I don't. Obviously, they didn't give. They didn't give you enough time, or they didn't put enough into developing the characters, on purpose, because that wasn't the point of what this story was.
I mean, there's like a time and a place for, simplistic character building, but then and it seemed like they were gonna go that direction with episode 1, but then you get to episodes 2 and 3, and then they go through the effort of making all of these like big as in depth as we can fit into like approximately 18-minute backstories for these other two characters, both of which have pretty like emotional either endings or like emotional beats to them. And
Yeah.
it's just like it almost just feels like it was kind of struggling to find a balance in how it wanted to tell its stories. Because like characters being solely plot devices, that's like on a case by case basis. Sometimes I'm like, okay, sometimes I'll have big problems with it. See my my review of Fena and how I was talking about how I didn't like how Fena was treated in that show as basically being a walking plot device. But
Yeah.
with this series, sure, it's not the most character driven, but they do place a lot of importance on how these characters interact with this world, right?
Mhm.
So it's like they're clearly trying to, make the effort to make these characters like sympathetic, is what I'm saying. It's like, but it just, but with just like the lack of time and the framing of the episodes, and how Haruko eats up a shit ton of screen time, it just kind of feels like a waste.
Yeah. And that can also be, I mean, it, and without knowing any more than what I've seen, it could have been conflict amongst the creators. Not conflict per se, but I'm saying like that a lack of cohesion amongst the creators led to that confusion or mixed messaging in the show. I honestly, like, I remember saying this when we talked about the upcoming Fooly Cooly, the last episode I was on, Sketch. I never had a strong feeling about it either way to begin with. I never felt the way about the first series the way a lot of viewers did. It wasn't at the time something I could relate to. And then as it evolved, it was more of a like interesting thing. I'll watch it once, enjoy it for what it is. Like you see it because you're watching it on television. And I feel like a lot of my Toonami experience is like that. Like 50% of the shows you watch because like, oh, this is interesting. What did I get out of this? Because it's on the block, it's on TV. Like if I were flipping channels, yeah, I'll watch this, and get some enjoyment out of it. Like not all of these shows have to have some kind of profound impact on me the way like say Samurai Jack did. So I took it for what it was. There are things I enjoyed, parts that I didn't, and I'm interested to see what they do with Shoegaze. It definitely gives me it definitely has a unique energy to it, and it's moving in its own direction, and I hope it continues to do that. Harumi definitely has the same frenetic Haruko energy, but she's still her own thing. Like it definitely has that vibe to it, but still unique. And Masaki, like I like that he's a little potato-kun, but like he's not attractive as a character. He's not attractive looking. He's a little pear-shaped, and that's okay. Like he's kind of bland. The most interesting thing about him is like his internal monologue and how he has these hallucinations or whatever they are. He sees things other people don't. We don't know what it is yet. It's obviously important. And then you get a sense of this dynamic between these two characters who are opposites and yet they kind of need each other because they're both alone. So that's interesting. The story didn't appeal to me until the kid set off the freaking bomb. When he was making the bomb, I was like, wait, what? I had to stop and rewind because I was like, is this for real? is this an adolescent with a bomb? Like, is this actually happening? I
Yeah,
almost believe it.
they made a bomb.
Yeah. Like, holy shit, they definitely were taking it there. Yeah, okay.
Turns out they are terrorists.
Alexa, play Hand Grenades by The Offspring.
Sorry, I may have preempted your segue if you wanted to do a recap.
I wasn't really going to recap much on this one. So far, we compare this to Grunge. Grunge had its quiet moments, but almost in every case, you would get to partway through the episode, and then it would be all gas, no break. So far, this is way more relaxed. Things are happening at a gradual pace, but not too slow by any means. Just, a normal pace. We have Harumi and Masaki in the big tower, which inexplicably has some kind of bird creature on it, which inexplicably you can see scenes from Fooly Cooly and Fooly Cooly Alternative when you pay attention to what's going on inside the bird.
Yeah, there was something there.
And I was like, is it looking into the past? Is it looking into the present? Is it the future? Does it matter? I don't know. Can it see all things? It could be something. It could be nothing. We'll have to wait and see. But they've gone to this tower because they think if they investigate this tower that they'll find some reason why the world is so messed up. And this is apparently a world that has already been flattened by the iron. But it seems like only Masaki and maybe not that many other people are aware of it. There's just something off about the world, but it doesn't seem like it's completely flat or anything like that. It's just kind of weird. And 10 years ago when that happened, Masaki started seeing things, whatever they are, which every time I see those things, I just think of Mob Psycho 100. Like little spirits, little dimples, that kind of thing. But yeah, he's seeing these things, don't really know what they are. They just show up everywhere, and apparently only he can see them, and only Harumi believes that he sees them. Though she was at least a little bit skeptical at first. And Harumi is just a wild child, just an unhinged girl whose opening line is, "So, you gonna drink my pee?"
Didn't know what to do with that, honestly.
Okay, I understand survival, but we're not there yet. We still got a couple of bottles of water.
That honestly might be the most disarming opening line of any character in history.
You want to drink my pee?
He just completely brushed it aside. Like, he's like, "Oh, this is what she does." Like, and you're like, "Wait, what?"
Excuse me, what? Go back. And then she mentions it again.
Like, I legit I actually almost flew back out of my chair when she said that. I was like, what the fuck?
What do we do with this?
Like,
and then you get to the Toonami break and you see him drinking some yellow liquid. You're like, no. It's okay. It was a sports drink. It was a fake out. They faked us out.
That's why he says, he's like, why are they all yellow? Which makes you think, I don't know. Makes you wonder.
Is that true? If you shake it up, does it work better if you shake it up?
God.
I don't know. That kind of makes sense that it like activates the electrons or what have you. But yeah, they're inside this tower. Nobody else is in there. The police and the Immigration Bureau. Yeah, the Immigration Bureau are there, including the guy from Alternative, who's a bit older now, Tabata Kanda. And shortly after he shows up, we get 10 years older Kana Kawamoto
Yeah. I
rolling
noticed
up, driving like a maniac.
that.
Mad
She's got a
drifting
bandage
skills.
on her forehead,
Yeah, she
too.
does have a bandage on her forehead. What's up with the bandage? What's under the band-aid?
Considering that it's fully coolly, there are some ideas. Dot,
Yeah.
dot, dot.
Yeah.
I
In
love
that-
that. Love that.
It's great to see Kana again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wonder
maybe
if
not
it's
the
if
maybe
it's
She's
not
an
the
all
Easter
serious
egg.
now.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
is it an Easter egg or is she actually going to be actively a part of this plot? I wonder.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure she's
a-
going to be a main character.
Yeah, she's the main character. She's the boring adult in the scenario.
And
But,
she knows it
I mean,
too.
yeah.
She almost does it as much.
Yeah.
She says, "Do I look like I have pink hair?"
I don't have pink hair and I don't hit things with a base. But at least in Konda's eyes, she saved the world back then. At the end of Fully Cooley Alternative, I presume. Even though I don't know if that's saving the world. That kind of resetting the world is what it looked like, but
I mean, momentarily saving it.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. So
I still have trouble coming to grips with that ending. To be honest, I'm just like, okay.
yeah, I need to revisit it, but
I remember the most the bitchy friend. That's what I remember the most about that.
yeah,
Oh yeah, Pets
pets.
fucking broke my heart. She was my favorite character too. I'm still mad about that.
Yeah,
That's the vernacular I used. The bitchy friend.
like
Like,
yeah,
oh, why?
Kana's a busybody, but you don't have to be that mean about it. I mean, just talk to her. Jeez. Finding out that
hey,
they were
you know-
never friends in her eyes is just
Harsh, man. You know, one thing that I did kind of vibe with was that the whole notion of if we blow up this tower, it will things will make sense, something will happen, right? And it's a very adolescent way to think. I felt like that in their minds that it made sense as the viewer. It made sense to see it that way for them too. It's just such an adolescent, such a teenage thing to think like we'll do this one big thing and it'll make a difference,
we
and then
gotta take down the conspiracy.
Yeah, and then they get there and it's not. Of course, it's not going to be what they think, and then how they react. It felt like it felt very authentically adolescent. And then the interesting reaction going on in Masaki's brain. That was interesting. I wonder what that means.
Yeah, well, the Eno is being activated, but he's also hearing voices. And if
Yeah.
you put on closed captions, it says who's talking to him. And I don't know if this is something that we should discuss yet, but
I didn't notice that. You're gonna have to tell me now because you brought it up.
all right. If in the closed captions and also in the credits, it mentions that it's Adamesk talking to him.
Oh, ooh.
Which I don't
Oh.
think Adamesk has ever had a voice before. So that's
No, with it being so short, it's important to notice little things like that.
Yeah, but I was wondering if they were gonna reveal that in some more interesting fashion than just what the captions are telling you.
I have to go back and rewatch. I missed that completely. I'm gonna
It's
have to
also in the
rewatch.
credits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why is he talking to Masaki? Curious. Before this show, came out, people wondered if maybe Masaki and Harumi were like Haruko and Adamesk before, but obviously this takes place after Haruko. So, no. But there might be some kind of connection. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's great that they go up to the top of the tower. They take all this effort walking up all those steps, get to the top of the tower, and there ain't nothing here. But then they accidentally set off the bomb because Masaki's NO activates and causes some electrical power to surge and gets the fuse lit. And Harvey's like, just chuck it as far as you can. Turns out she doesn't want to die, even though she made that statement about how we're all gonna die someday.
That's a hell of an arm. I could definitely not have thrown it that far.
Yeah,
Like,
wow. He does not look like he would be able to throw it that far.
I don't even know how he figured out how to make a bomb tip. So
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably find it on the internet.
sure, I
Probably,
think
but if you looked for it, you might get put on a list.
I'd like to avoid that.
Yeah. Oh man, I just recently found out that it's seriously illegal to even temporarily create a TV signal that can be transmitted a long distance. Like, that's super illegal. Which I get it, they don't want people pirating television or cable.
Oh my gosh, there was a whole period of time when people were doing illegal radio.
Yeah.
Well, it was like in the 50s and 60s and 70s, I think.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. So don't want to get put on a list. Anyway, so they blow up a piece of the tower, which unsettles the bird momentarily, but it's right back to where it was. But they do reveal some other structures that was above that, and they're thinking, oh, maybe this is where we get the answers. Well, we'll see.
It looks like a giant chicken.
Does look like a giant chicken. Just
You know what that thing reminded me of? It reminded me specifically of y'all know that one artist that was popular on Twitter. I think it was Kele Flipnote. Y'all ever seen their art? They usually make a bunch of bouncy animal art.
Yes,
yeah. That's
bouncy
what
little bird.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, totally. That is the.
That. I need a visual.
Find her a link. That's.
Yeah.
Because it totally does. Why is it a bird though? Is that also connected to Adamesk? Probably. We will see, I suppose. Yeah.
Was it clear? It wasn't clear to me, but I thought they had, but I wanted to see what you guys think. When the explosion went off, did the bird become visible, albeit briefly or permanently, to the other characters below?
I don't think so. I think there would be a bigger reaction if that were the case.
The reaction of Konda made me think that maybe he saw for a second at least, if not the whole time. Not the whole time, but afterwards, the bird, he had a reaction to it. And I thought it wasn't like he was reacting to the bomb, because it was almost like he was reacting to seeing this interdimensional bird. That was just my impression. I wasn't sure if maybe you guys had.
I didn't pick up on that, but you might be onto something. I totally believe that he could see things like that because he's been close enough to Haruko and Medical Mechanica and NO Energy for however long. So
yeah,
I actually wouldn't be surprised if he could already see the bird, but that wouldn't explain why he would suddenly be noticing it.
Well, certainly the image, because the kids didn't see that part, but the interdimensional images or
Mhm.
in past or whatever. I don't know. I gotta rewatch that episode now. Dang.
That's the thing about these Wooly Coolies. I mean, sometimes you gotta rewatch an episode multiple times to catch all the little things.
Yeah, there's a lot of visual detail in these shows. They're definitely rewatchable. And I think there's a lot of verbal cues that if you don't, you can miss it if you aren't paying attention. Like I can't have this on in the background. I have to watch it actively.
It could be a pretty hindsight heavy series.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That definitely is the art style of the creators. I will say that the music is great. It's exactly what I would expect. Nothing
it's
groundbreaking.
the pillows. Like it's just the pillows. it's gonna be the pillows, right?
Yeah, it's not.
It picked some pretty good tracks for the scenes.
Yeah, tracks are solid. It gave me that vibe. Like I hope they have more music feature in the next two episodes, just to give it more like I like it when the music provides some kind of like directing energy to what you're supposed to experience in the scene, especially in anime. So maybe they'll do that.
If there's anything that's consistent about these Fooly Cooly sequels, is that the Pillows music is good.
Yeah.
That's like the saving grace of them, according to a lot of people.
Yeah, I just my only thing, and it's only the first episode, of course, but I just wish they had done something more creative visually with Shoegaze. I was just so excited initially, and maybe with the short that I saw made it look like it was going to be. So I was a little surprised when I watched this, and it looked just like Fooly Cooly. But maybe the next two episodes will be something different.
Perhaps. A lot of interesting style is going into the ending sequence, which is a particular animator worked on it, Taisei Uchida. And there's a whole lot of bird imagery in that. Whole lot of bird imagery, and it's probably flashes of things that could happen in the future. And yeah, I'm sure many people will analyze it, if they even pay attention to this show. But it's pretty visually striking, I would say. I personally like the look of Shoegaze, but I could understand why it might feel a little bland. It looks like you would expect an anime to look. Not necessarily a bad thing, but not exactly interesting.
Yeah, like it makes sense because it looks just like Alternative because it's a sequel to Alternative, but then at the same time it's just like, oh yeah, this is certainly an anime. Yes.
It is certainly the anime ever. Another one. Well, yeah, I think this has a much stronger start than the first episode of Grunge. That's not hard to accomplish, in my opinion. But I don't know. It approached things very differently in that they kind of just throw us right into the event, and then they do flashbacks to give us more information about these characters, which I think was an effective way of getting the situation going in the first episode and also giving us a reason to feel anything about these characters.
Yeah, it's like you think they're gonna lead up to how they got in the tower, but then the thing they were leading up to was, oh hey, we made a fucking bomb.
Yeah. Apparently it was no big thing to get into the tower.
Also, there's one thing I can say that so far has kind of impressed me about Shoegaze is Harume herself, actually.
Oh.
Because, like the way she is, especially, like, at the beginning, like, my first thought was that, okay, manic pixie dream girl thing. Like, Haruko
Nobody let
Jr.,
Hollywood know.
like, Haruko Jr., but then, like, you get those moments where she's just, like, real as hell, and it's just like, whoa, okay. Like, especially that last argument they have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that one line where she says something like, hold on, I'm, like, trying to skim through the episode to find it, because I can't remember the exact quote.
The thing about...
Like,
your
you
own
never be
mortality.
truly alive until you make peace with your own mortality.
Yeah.
And, like honestly, the satisfied going through life like a zombie thing, that one hit me in the core, because that's admittedly kind of how I've been living for the past few years, and I'm like, damn.
I feel like that's how a lot of us have been living.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, this girl whose first line was "wanna drink my pee" really just hit me in the core right now.
Wasn't expecting. I think it's great seeing as this is the same director that they are playing more with the world of alternative, because I liked alternative. And if
Yes.
there was going to be one that you would expand upon, I'm glad it was alternative.
Yes, I feel the same.
So I think that was a good choice, at least theoretically. And it kind of does some heavy lifting to, set things for the viewers. Though if somebody hasn't seen alternative, they probably get a lot less out of this.
Yeah, they'll probably see, Kana come up and it's like, who's this random girl?
Yeah.
Like, why are they giving her so much?
What?
Why are they giving her so much screen time? What are they talking about?
And why is she so upset that she's not going to be able to get her hair done today? You don't get days off in this line of work.
Honestly, she's so real for that. Just
Yeah.
coming in, just like, man, this is my day off. What do you guys want?
I do hope
She
that we...
really grew up to be a true adult.
I really hope that they explore why she picked this path in life. Because it's probably not what I would have expected for her, though I'm not entirely sure what I would have, because kind of the whole thing with Kana is she had no aspirations.
Yeah, pretty much.
All of her friends had aspirations, but not her.
You just answer it. That's why. That's why she.
That's why maybe. Maybe her experience with the crazy pink-haired lady, thinking the world needs to be prepared for this nonsense. And seeing as I am aware of it, I guess I have to be that person.
She didn't have a particular ambition herself, so I think you can assume someone like Konda approached her and she's like, sure, why not? I have nothing better to do.
How well does it pay? It's got to be better than working at the restaurant.
Do I get Saturdays off?
Sometimes. Probably no.
Like, it almost makes me wonder if it was kind of like a path of least resistance thing for her.
It could have been. It definitely could have been. But
Like,
I'm hoping that we actually have more of this explored in some capacity. But
yeah, but chances of that happening are kind of slim because it's only 3 damn episodes. Why?
Yeah, kind of. But I think the more narrowed focus of this storyline is going to give us at least a little bit of time for, because obviously Kana's going to be interacting with these other characters. And I know that based on the trailer, there's some point where Harumi basically tells Kana that she's a boring adult and they don't understand or whatever. So I'm sure something like that.
It happens to all of us. It happens to the best of us. We get there. We can't help it.
It's true.
You can
Like-
try to fight it, but it's going to happen to you too. And you know
Like-
what? It's not as much as a crisis as you thought it would be when you were a kid.
Like a popular meme said, childhood is believing that you're SpongeBob, growing adulthood is realizing that you're Squidward.
Oh.
Like your ambition in life becomes, can I pay my bills and afford healthcare?
We ain't got time to deal with teenagers invading a tower. I gotta worry about my health care.
That's the real thing, though. No joke.
I don't like
does the
shoegaze.
Immigration Bureau give good health care? I hope.
That's why we have an entire effing podcast about these shows. It's to give us some meaning in our lives.
I don't like shoegaze. It's making us get too real in this conversation. I didn't come here to feel attacked. I'm gonna retire from podcasting forever and live in the corner now.
Hey,
I'm
you.
lying, bro, but
you just gotta get comfortable with your own mortality here.
there we go.
Damn it.
Hey, maybe that's the message we're supposed to be getting so far.
Could be, definitely could be.
Ugh.
So we got some talkbacks here. Let's see if any of these spring some additional conversation. So at Rules Arceus wrote in, I love the story, and I think Harumi is the best character I've seen in a while. She made me laugh my ass off for the whole episode, saying things like drink her piss. It was so dumb and so funny. Highly enjoyed the first episode, even though I don't know what was going on. 8 out of 10.
That was
Yeah,
a good,
pretty fair
comment.
assessment.
Yeah.
Kevin Davis 9568 writes in, I love the story, but I'm not sure how I feel about the characters except for Kana, because I love Kana in FLCL Alternative.
Aw.
Well, that kind of makes sense because, I mean, first episode, just kind of dipping your toes into characters and all that.
Mm-hmm. I honestly really like these two. I think they're a fun pair.
I do like their dynamic.
Yeah,
a lot.
It's a good dynamic.
Like honestly, I just love any kind of dynamic of deadpan depressed person with person who's like caffeine incarnate.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Where the whole time he's just like, I am never going to get used to this, but then at the same time he's secretly enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. It's a good dynamic. It's tried and true. At Wolf Guardian 75 writes in, interesting so far. Looking forward to the next Saturday.
Same.
Yeah.
To the point.
Me too.
As am I. At Big Mac Sama writes in, it was okay. I'm sad that Haruko Haruhara is in this season and the only girl from the last two seasons. And only that girl from the last two seasons. Sucks without the pink-haired crazy girl herself because she's what makes the series funny for me and steals the whole show for me as usual. Yes, it is a bold choice to do a Fooly Cooly without Haruko. I honestly never thought I'd see the day.
Honestly, I'm kind of glad they did because of, the last...
Haven't we been asking for this? Is like, you have other things that you can hang on besides Haruko. You can use Medical Mechanica. You can use NO. You can, it doesn't have to be Haruko all the time.
Haruki fills that role of having that, like I said, she has that frenetic energy, but she's still unique. I don't think you could have her and Haruko both in the series without it just clashing.
No.
It would be too much. So she does fill that void of needing a character with her zaniness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine because she's also her own character. She's still an adolescent. She's still a little dumb or whatever, thoughtful. She has her.
She's not just we have Haruko at home.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, she's pretty much Haruko with more autism, and I really, really like that.
She definitely feels like a real character to me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like watching her, and I was like, I feel like I could know this person. I think I have known this person.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? How
a-
many of your friends ask you if you want to try their pee?
You know, we don't have to talk about that. Kidding.
All right.
she definitely.
Subject.
Yeah, she feels pretty grounded though, and that was like the big thing that surprised me about her is that she's pretty grounded overall, even despite the fact that she's like always at 105 at all times, and it definitely I think it definitely fits more with the overall vibe of alternative and shoegaze than I think Haruko would fit there.
Yeah.
But so for now, after this first episode, I say so far it's a good decision.
Yeah, I don't. Haruko couldn't be this role in this story. It wouldn't feel right. It would feel very. I don't even know. having her around in this tower with Masaki instead, I didn't know.
I mean, I know one thing: we definitely wouldn't have got that conversation before his NO powers went all crazy.
No.
Definitely would not have had that conversation.
No.
And that was like the highlight of the episode. So
I'm really interested to see how the theme of like shoegaze music ties into the actual series. Like how are they playing on that theme in the series?
Yeah, I wonder if it's anything more than it's a branch of alternative music. But
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe I'm looking.
we'll see.
Maybe-
When I was looking at it initially, I didn't think Fooly Cooly Grunge was grunge at all, but
No,
the
it was ska. It was Fooly Cooly ska.
but the way that Carl explained it, actually, yeah, it does fit certain definitions of grunge.
I have to listen to that episode.
You do. It's a really interesting conversation. And I think he's very qualified to describe what grunge can be because he grew up in the era of grunge and also in the city of grunge. So technically so did I, but I'm not at all well versed in grunge, so I couldn't tell you.
I
mean, honestly, as someone that just listens to a bunch of different kinds of music, I can definitely see the grunge aesthetic of it.
Mm.
I mean, even just thinking like,
honestly, how much is alternative and progressive anything like alternative or progressive music anyway?
Progressive? I say the most progressive music-esque episode of Progressive was like, I think it was episode 5, where everything is just going like all different kinds of directions and all that.
Mm. Perhaps.
If it did, I felt like it did.
Fair enough.
I mean, for one thing, alternative is the fact that it was just a completely different vibe than what you would expect from.
Yeah, that's why I think
Cooly
alternative is a, is a the kind of on the nose thing with progressive is, instead of being a story about a young boy's adolescence, it's about a young woman's adolescence.
Mm-hmm.
We're being progressive. But I don't think it's, it's definitely not that shallow. Just can't help but notice it. But anyway.
The reason that I thought ska is because, and I may be completely the only person who thinks this, but like if you listen to ska music, it has like a really upbeat rhythm and a constant like you get up and go to it, but the actual content of the music is quite serious and dark. And that was the vibe I got. Like the energy was very much like, a constant rhythm, constantly going, a beat, but like it wasn't a happy, upbeat story. That's and this is just purely my own interpretation, and maybe I'm stretching it, but that only to defend my little like I'm gonna rename this show. But that doesn't even sound good, so I get why they called it grunge too. Like grunge actually just sounds better.
Honestly, big ska fan here. I see where you're coming from, but I think you're kind of missing the mark a little.
I might be. It's just a personal. It's just my own view, you know. But you do have a bit more invested in understanding music than I would. I'll admit.
I mean, like, if you want to just think of it like an easier way to think about it, like when I think of Fooly Cooly grunge, and I think of like grunge music, like I just kind of like I'm not too well versed into grunge music, but I mean one of the most quintessential grunge bands is like Nirvana, and like I don't know why, but in my head I just started playing Heart Shaped Box, and I just started thinking about some of the shit that happened in grunge, especially like with Shonati's backstory, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is definitely a grunge vibe.
Yeah, you guys should both you should both hear how Carl describes it.
I definitely did not get
I really should because I'm interested now. Oh God, I just looked on the freaking Wikipedia page. It said the lyrics are typically angst-filled and introspective, often addressing themes such as society, social alienation, self-doubt, abuse, neglect, betrayal, social and emotional isolation, addiction, psychological trauma, and a desire for freedom. Yeah, absolutely. 1000% grunge.
I totally got the Interrupters vibe from it though. Instead of Nirvana, like my headcanon music was the Interrupters.
Mm.
Ooh, that's a good band.
Yeah. Since we're talking about equating like the vibe. This one, it's too soon to tell. I think I need to see it as a whole.
Yeah, I've literally never heard of shoegaze music before this show was announced. But apparently it's an offshoot of alternative, which is thematically appropriate. We do have a couple more talkbacks. Journeyman15 wrote in, this is a very impressive story, and the directing in this is very intriguing, considering the 3-episode pace they need to convene. Wonderful to have someone from alternative to build a wonderful rapport, and meaning of Fooly Cooly purpose is outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And at Toonami Live writes in, with only 3 episodes, using alternative as a foundation seems to have paid off in terms of pacing, less need to world build. Abandoning familiar elements, namely Arco, may help this iteration break new ground, which is my biggest wish for these sequels. I agree.
Yes.
That's a great assessment. That's great.
And now for Khaki Blue Socks, Josh Cajun Samurai. And that's it for episode 1 of Fooly Cooly Shoegaze. Initial thoughts. Part of me wants to be done with this whole thing. Part of me wants to say, you know what? F this. I'm not even going to give this cash grab the time of day. But unlike Grunge, it's not infuriatingly bad. If this were any other show, it would be an automatic drop, but it's only 3 episodes, and there's seemingly a hint of a tolerable story. I'm just going to stick with it. Can we just give up on trying to make more FLCL after this, please?
God, if Josh didn't have
agree.
I would have been so surprised.
I agree. I honestly agree with that.
I mean, yeah,
like,
we didn't need a 4th and a 5th like we didn't need a 2nd and a 3rd.
True that. And even though I love alternative, I love 5 out of 6 of alternative. Like, why? I'm always just like, why though?
Of all of the series to try to expand upon,
I mean, at least alternative kind of thematically felt like what a continuation of Fooly Cooly should be, but even then, it's just still like, why?
No, I get it. And I'll explain why. I have a good reasoning behind this. Because unlike other series where you have one overarching storyline, Fooly Cooly, it gives you an opportunity to have similar themes, but but playing around with different creative platforms, not just the animation style, but the story and the music and all kinds of things. So like they're able to stick to this one brand and try different things out with it. And you don't get to do that a lot in one anime. Like you have to keep making different animes to do that. So I would argue that I get why they did it. And I think that with art, it's important to try these things out, not just to see like, you know, audience response, but to really flex those creative muscles. I think especially if you're in the entertainment industry, you know, after a while you probably get ennui and boredom, and you want to try different things, and Fooly Cooly just gives you that platform to do it, because they left a lot of ideas on the table after the first one, like that they could play with, and one of them being like, all right, let's try it with a girl. What would that be like? What if Haruka was split into 2 different personalities? What would that be like? You know, like trying those things out and seeing how they played out. Like I can see that, and I think that's interesting. Just like with this, like what if we try doing a different animation style entirely? What if we make these really short pieces? Like what if? What can we do with this? And I like that in anime. I like that a lot. I like it when they push boundaries and try new things, or try mixing different things together. And I've said that with a lot of things. It's one of the reasons that I liked Blade Runner, trying a different animation style, you know. So that I will be a bit of an Fooly Cooly apologist here for that reason.
I think it's a fair reasoning.
Yeah. But I'm also like, I mean, you can try different things without having to use something popular as a crutch to do it.
It's true, but it is much harder to get executives to sign off on a new idea.
Yeah, there's always money involved, so they have to.
Honestly, I don't even know how much money this would be even making them, because I remember seeing like Japanese impressions on the last 2 seasons of the last 2 sequels, you know, Progressive and Alternative, and they all fucking hated it. So I'm like, did anyone really ask for grunge and shoegaze? Like, I don't like. I'm fairly certain that at least 95%, shit, I'll probably go 98% of like anime fans would have been okay if they just never touched the property again. Actually, I feel like a lot of them would have preferred that they never touched the property again. But I mean,
or in the first place.
In the first place, yeah, exactly.
But, you know, I look at people who, like, really gel with Fooly Cooly, who actually like these things, and I say, hey, if they like them, that's great. I wish I could have their perspective.
This might be
like,
a good...
I mean, like, I still, like, I still give them all, like, a fair shot and whatnot. But, you know, it just kind of doesn't change the fact that it just wasn't necessary. Like honestly, I feel the same way about Fooly Cooly Alternative that I feel about Toy Story 4. Like I think Toy Story 4, like I enjoyed it when I watched it, but I also feel like you know, watched it and thought, yeah, we really didn't need this movie, but I enjoyed it.
I strongly agree that we did not need a Toy Story 4.
We really don't need a Toy Story 5.
No, we don't. I didn't even think we needed a 3, to be honest, but I thought 2 had a beautiful ending, and we should have just left it fucking there.
And we thought that we needed a sequel to The Incredibles, but boy, we were wrong.
We didn't need that. We didn't need that story. Pixar, stop. Let's stop.
Moral of the story, Disney keeps making too many sequels, and because of that, everyone wants to make sequels, and it sucks. It's all Disney's fault. Blaming them.
And everything's a cinematic universe. You got the Fooly Cooly cinematic universe now. Because there's at least 2 timelines.
Like honestly, I would have rather preferred it that they just didn't. Like, if they had just made like a spiritual successor to Fooly Cooly and not just use Fooly
successor.
Like, literally just do what Bomb Rush Cyberpunk did with Jet Set Radio Future. Like you could tell that it's based off of Jet Set Radio Future, but it's its own thing. Like you could have just did that and made a lot of people, happier. Just for the sole fact it doesn't have the Fooly Cooly name attached to it.
I don't know if it would necessarily make people happier, but
I'd be willing to bet, and this might be like a private conversation you have with Maki, but I'd be willing to bet that this was one of those things they were told to use the branding on, and not that they came up with that. And so they tried their best to incorporate these other ideas into it. And that's why grunge feels the way it feels.
well, yeah, production IG.
Oh, everybody loves this, so let's do more of it. Everybody loves Fooly Cooly. Let's make some money. Easy money. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, wasn't like the
I don't think
wasn't like the original creator kind of like okay with just leaving it alone too? Like
he was indifferent at best. It was like, look, I don't want any part of this, but if you're gonna do it, then I suggest you get new people and new ideas.
Yeah. And they
Which
don't
I think
control
they
over
did do. But whether or not they were good ideas is debatable.
And the industry is kind of going through some massive changes right now. And like, I would imagine that money plays a big part in some of these decisions. We've been saying repeatedly, we want original content. We want original content, especially for Toonami. And I think there's a really small window for what that is and what that would look like. And so that's why, they throw us these.
Why is it a small window?
Well, because now all the drama with Crunchyroll and Crunchyroll being really locked down with, first of all, we can't get them to.
That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm not sure what you mean by it's a small window for originals.
You have a studio. You have to not time wise. I mean, like entry wise. You have to have a studio that's willing to invest money in an original production with something like Adult Swim, which is relatively small in production.
That's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. So it's yes, they can replay these on HBO and Netflix and make money off them, but premiere wise, it's not like this is going out and they're getting a bunch of retail out of it. Like it's kind of a slow burn at first. So I feel like with Toonami, because there's such little opportunity, it's not necessarily financially sound for some of these studios to like invest in putting a lot of new material out. So, but alternatively, then they find younger, newer talent that get a chance to experiment because they will do so for less money. And then we get some materials that are good or have potential, but not quite finished because they just don't have the experience. Some of the creators may not just have the experience. Like Fena, I think, felt really incomplete, had so many great things about it, but it was really incomplete, and story wise, for example, like things like that. And I'm not trying to be unnecessarily critical.
I'll tell you what, they can use all the fresh animators, storyboarders, character designers that they want, and it'll be fine. What they need is a seasoned writer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've talked about that a lot. Like the good writing really is where we've seen a lot of, not just Toonami shows, like in a lot of anime that's on the market these days. They're just really lowballing the writing, and it's disappointing.
Yeah, that's why they all went on fucking strike.
Yeah, I understand.
And they won. Yes.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Power
Power to the people.
Anyway, I'm pontificating, but it was just a thought. Like I want to defend I want to at least provide some alternative, like balanced viewpoint here on this podcast to not just outwardly be critical and dismissive of some of the things that come on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Like I said, if people who love, like they live and breathe Fooly Cooly, actually get enjoyment from these things, I think that's fantastic. Now, I know there are also people who adore Fooly Cooly that want nothing to do with these. And I can understand both points of view. At the end of the day, I think it's cool that they're letting fresh talent take a crack at a legendary series.
Mhm.
I'm especially happy for the voice cast, because they all seem to be super thrilled to be involved with a Fooly Cooly, and good for them. I think that's fantastic, and I also think it's very interesting that New York AV Post has cast non-binary and trans actors in these series. I think that's fantastic. And they're not, they're not playing arguably non-binary or trans characters. They're playing a role. And whether or not they are non-binary or trans doesn't really factor into it. But I don't know. I think it's just, we're at the point where it makes sense to have non-binary and trans actors in a Fooly Cooly show, because I'm sure there are so many that Fooly Cooly means a lot to them.
Yeah, freaking big ups to Jesse Nowak though.
Yeah.
I've known about Jesse Nowak since like the early Team 4-Star days, and just to see that come up is fucking great.
Like, that is super cool for them. I'm so happy for them. And like, super shout outs to the voice of Harumi Kim Gassiel, I think is how it's pronounced. They are doing, like, people were like super convinced that was Kari. I was like, no, I don't think so. But she is nailing some of the Haruko line deliveries.
Yeah, like I thought it was Kari Waldron too. Like, I didn't even think about it, and then I just saw the voice cast. I was like, oh hell, what?
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic, and I really don't subscribe to the theory that it will turn out to be Haruko, because for one thing, at the end of Alternative, Haruko got blasted far off somewhere. Now that doesn't mean she can't come back, but
has other worlds to sow chaos in.
Exactly.
Off on her own adventures.
Precisely. Which may or may not be happening at the same time as the events of this.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. I could see that being the case. Though, interestingly, there's no flashes of progressive as far as I can see in those moments where you can see images from prior Fooly Coolies. Now, that could just be because it's the director of Alternative and he's using his own stuff as well as the classic, but I don't know. There are people that are joking like, yeah, they're only using clips from the good ones.
I didn't want to say it, but
that's pretty harsh.
Okay.
But fair.
I mean, they are kind of disconnected, so I mean, makes sense.
At least in the cast list, it shows that not just Kana will be appearing, but supposedly also one of Kana's friends. Oh gosh, what was her name? Why is it Mosan? Yeah, Mitsuru Mosan Motoyama will be appearing at some point.
Oh, cool.
Either that or I don't know. Marin Miller is involved in some manner of the production here, and she was in the photo with Jesse Nowak and Maki. So that might not mean she's necessarily going to show up, but I mean, probably. And honestly, I hope to see the one that's not Pets. Yeah. And it's interesting that we are getting a voice for Atomisk for the first time, and it's Mike Sinterniklaus. Maybe he just always wanted to do it. Or maybe they're like, we need a voice. Mike, you do this one.
I mean, he does work there, so I mean,
You're already here.
like every NYAV post dub gotta have him and Stephanie Shea somewhere because they own the place. So I mean,
Yeah, exactly. And they're directing. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think that will do it for this conversation. Unless you guys have anything more to add, I think we're all hopeful that this is going somewhere. And
please.
So far, so good.
And hopefully the last episode doesn't ruin everything again.
No. Oh, I don't want that.
That's all I want is just for it to be, to be good the whole way through and not make me feel confusion at the end, please.
5 out of 6.
Like straight up. Like, and I said this on the podcast before. If it wasn't for that last episode, Fully Coolly Alternative might have been my anime of the year of that year.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah. I have to go back.
I definitely don't dislike it as much as you do, but I do have my issues with it.
No, what he's describing is the strength of feeling I had for the ending of Fena.
Same.
I mean, that was me. That was me up until about episode 8 or 9ish, and then I realized I was like, oh no, there's not enough time.
I'm tired of seeing people saying Fena only had one or two good episodes. That's not true.
Oh no,
Fena had several good episodes.
Like everything up until like episode 8 was like prime goodness. And then they had the rush, and it was
they could have just taken the whole stupid Joan of Arc thing out of it completely and come up with something else.
Pretty much needless.
That was what really fucked it up completely for me, and I'm still burning about it because it was so beautiful visually, and I hate what they did to the ending of that. It made no sense, and I wanted to go on more pirate adventures with her. I wanted to see them like take over ships and like do stuff, and naughty arrow wielding boy. I just wanted to fan out on him,
And now we're never gonna get more, and you have to track down the dub because it's never gonna air on TV again.
Yeah, let's not talk about it. It just makes me mad.
Or come to home video.
Thanks, WB.
Yeah.
Thanks, David Zaslav, whatever that dumbass's name is. I don't like him. I don't care.
Or do another lost opportunity if we want to get angry about more stuff. Let's not.
We could be here all day.
That should be a separate podcast episode. Us just getting mad about.
We'll call it the episode of Lost Opportunities.
Yes.
Lost Opportunities.
Oh boy. Well, I think we could wrap it up here. So, AmpRen, tell us where they can find you.
I am on the Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter. Never calling it X.
Yeah.
I'm at AmpRen Let's Ride. I'll be there until Elon Musk finally turns the website into 2005 Macromedia Flash something. I don't know what he's going to do with it. And
moron.
I am now unretired from music, so
yay!
Woo!
All of my stuff is, still on my Bandcamp. I still sort of have a SoundCloud page open. I got to make a new one though. But just search up AmpRen and you can find it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Kuro, where can they find you?
On the site formerly known as Twitter at Happy Kuro Kitty, and I try to post a lot of fun, happy stuff. 90% of which is cats. The rest is anime or art. And excuse all the antiquity stuff. It's an obsession of mine. I'm not sorry. I'm just warning you in advance. It's gonna show up if you follow me. But do follow me, and love to hear what everybody thought about anything we talk about. please feel free to reach out to us, tweet at us. As long as you stay polite and use good manners, you will get a response.
I will not guarantee a response.
I will use a response. Just don't be mean.
Actually, I usually respond. Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Sketch1984, and that will continue to be the case at least until they maybe actually do this thing they're thinking of doing where they have to verify your identity in order to keep Twitter. Yeah, the moment they start doing that, we're done. Not happening. We are not doing that. There's also something in the fine print about being able to record everything that you write and use AI to learn from it. I think was somewhere in there because of course there's some AI nonsense in there because that's the world we live in now. Ugh, disgusting. But yeah, no, I like to keep my online stuff away from my IRL stuff, and if these things have to intersect in any way, we're done. Not happening.
I'm the same way.
That's an invasion of privacy, Elon, and I will not stand for it. I also will never pay for Twitter. So if you ever get to the point where everybody has to pay for it if they want to use it in any capacity, no.
Can't he just go to Mars and leave us all alone? Please.
I know, right?
Just go away. Leave us be.
Go try to find water on Mars.
We're fine. We'll be okay. Just go away. Go away.
Maybe he should try and find a new wife on Mars, too.
Taking a planet Earth. Save the women.
Yeah, if he marries on Mars, maybe he won't have to deal with alimony.
Wait, no, I take that back. No, because then he'll keep breeding, and I don't think that should happen.
No, we don't want that. We don't want that. No.
Yeah, we're done trolling.
Mm-mm.
We should
No.
house clean.
Yeah, we're going to end up having more kids in the world named XEAIL12 or some shit.
Oh, no. Yikes. You can follow us on Facebook at Toonami Faithful Podcast or on Twitter at Toonami Podcast. You can listen to the podcast on just about everything, including Apple Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Overcast, Podbay, Podbean, Podcast Addict, Radio.com, Spotify, or the TuneIn Radio app. And you can find every episode of the podcast stream online at SoundCloud.com/Toonami Faithful Podcast. And get the latest news by following at Toonami News on Twitter. And read the news, views, and reviews on ToonamiFaithful.com. Oh, yeah. And you can email us at podcast@ToonamiFaithful.com if you had any additional comments on Fooly Cooly Shoegaze, Fooly Cooly Grunge, or anything Toonami related. Really, we're always open to hear your commentary and feedback. That's feedback about our podcast, not feedback about Toonami so much, because, I mean, we don't control that.
Yeah. If we did, we wouldn't be having these conversations about shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah. But I would definitely still be airing 2 episodes of One Piece every week.
If I'd be in charge, we would have gotten Heroic Age on Toonami, and
A long time ago.
it would have been awesome.
If I were in charge of Toonami, there'd be a mandatory viewing of Hamtaro every week.
That's why you're not in charge of Toonami.
What are you talking about? That was single-handedly saved Toonami. He's the greatest anime of all time.
That's
I
right.
can't handle that much Hamtaro. I really just can't.
That's right. Look, they're playing Dexter's Laboratory on Adult Swim proper now. I think we can get away with playing Hamtaro. It's for the nostalgia.
Check
Yeah,
your
shout outs Checker Pass.
But and that is evidently doing really well. It's increased adult viewership in certain demographics by like 100%. Not
Hell yeah.
shocking.
That's all we wanted. Just something other than Teen Titans Go.
Now, let's be fair. It's mostly Gumball at this point, which is a good show, but not when it's like half of Cartoon Network's whole day. Good
Yeah,
show. But
Yeah, if it
not-
ain't Teen
not
Titans
that
Go, it's Gumball.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been kind of light on the Teen Titans Go lately. It's almost surprising because they
Oh,
have
really?
a lot of episodes of that now.
I've been seeing a lot of classic Batman come up on my feed on stuff. I feel like there's a lot of renewed interest.
Well,
Bat-
I mean, does
Batman.
interest for Batman the Animated Series ever truly die?
Not
No.
really, no.
I've been seeing it a lot on my feed this year. It's really made me want to go and watch it. And I had briefly an HBO subscription because I cycle through my scripts, and I was
I
thinking,
think it's on Amazon too.
yeah,
I might be wrong about that.
it gave me like hardcore nostalgia vibes for watching Batman again. I'm a total Batman obsess, as I've talked about here before. Like I love Batman, so anything Batman will catch. The way you love Ninja Turtles, but not quite as much, but almost as
Man,
much.
we didn't get any Batman movies this year. I mean, we got it Injustice and Justice League versus the Fatal Five, but surprisingly, not any Batman movies. Huh. I suppose they might be running a bit low on ones that they think are worth airing, but Soul of the Dragon, man, that was a fun one.
Just remind me, it's time for a rewatch of The Long Halloween.
Sure, that's thematically appropriate.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna
Even
do
though
it.
most of that movie does not, in fact, take place on Halloween.
No. So, what's your point? What's your point?
It actually covers multiple holidays, which is kind of neat. Yeah, that was cool seeing all of that on Toonami. I actually watched that with my father, even though not all of it live, since it was pretty late at night.
Yeah, I watched it with my partner actually, who's not an anime fan, and we both enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, but I am surprised that we didn't get any kind of Batman movie on Batman Day this year. But they're playing a whole bunch of live action Batman movies on Acme Night on Sundays anyway. So, and some animated DC movies too. Like I think the Super Sons aired recently. That was an interesting one.
We'll have a break presumably before we get the next part of Dr. Stone. So, who knows?
Oh yeah, it's not starting on Crunchyroll till October 12th. So at earliest, maybe 4 weeks from then, sometime in November.
I can't wait.
Earliest.
It's driving me crazy. I need to know what happens. This is going to make me nuts. Like,
I know this is honestly, it's going to be hard for me not to try to watch it before Toonami plays it. Because I want to know what happens next, but not enough to read ahead in the manga. I'm not at that point yet, but I might get there. Like, I watched one episode of this new season and like, oh well, now I want to read the manga.
I was so tempted to look up spoilers. Like, I was really, really considering it.
Oh, don't do that.
Yeah. No,
Just read the manga.
Just read the manga.
Just get the Shonen Jump subscription. It's like $2 a month. You can just read the entire series in like a couple days.
$2.99. They raised it $1.
And
Oh yeah.
how much time I spend reading books. Like, I just don't have time to add more things to read. I just don't. There isn't any.
You can if you're brave enough.
Yeah, I got so much manga and comics that I could be reading, and I just never get around to it.
Same with me and light novels.
Yeah, I've got
You have to
quite
have the time
a
for
few
video
light novels.
and anime. Like, you gotta balance all your time out for all the
Right,
funky media.
exactly.
Shit, I haven't had time to do that. I've actually been busy with music stuff again now that I'm unretired, and I'm like, damn.
Great. Fantastic. Love to hear it.
Yeah,
Literally. Figuratively.
as long as you're enjoying the time you're spending,
Yep.
it's time well spent.
I am until I get to the mixing part of it. The mixing part sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, like editing a podcast.
Speaking of, I think we have a podcast here, Sketch.
We sure do.
Yeah, we haven't formally ended this. I forgot. We're talking like it's over, and we haven't said goodbye yet.
That's right. That is true. And we're up to it's slightly over an hour and 30 minutes. Well, maybe some things will be trimmed. I don't know. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of the Toonami Faithful podcast. We hope you enjoyed this conversation. And until next time, we're punching out.
Don't make bombs that explode.
Now King Piccolo is free and looking for some payback. Hunt them down, all of them, leave not one standing. See the world you only thought you knew.
Oh boy!
Dragon Ball. All new episodes starting September 1st at 6:30. This world will soon be mine. Youth is wasted on the young.